Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're your hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every weekday, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can find all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues affecting you and your neighbors.
Get connected, Fitchburg. Sign up for Fitchburg Connect, the city's monthly e-newsletter that keeps you informed about all the events, services, and updates that matter to you. Get it in your inbox once a month. Sign up today to get Fitchburg Connect.
Sorry. Garcia Sierra?
He's on. Mario, can you are on. We see you, correct?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hamilton?
Here.
Hardy? Here. Lepper? Maldonado is excused.
Is excused.
Yes. And then Sanders.
Here.
Potts?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes from January 22, 2026. You got those from staff approximately a week and a half ago. Is there any discussion of the minutes? Hearing none, we'll move to approve. Is there a motion?
I will motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion and seconded by Jenny, and I heard Dan Hardy first. So, all right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Okay.
And Mark, just Jake Lepper just started.
Oh, thank you, Jake. Yep. We got you here now. We just passed the minutes. We're on to item 4 on the agenda, which is public appearance for non-agenda items. And Nura,
she's here for the housing plan.
So we're going to wait for that. So we do have one person here to speak to an item on the agenda, and we will give her the 3 minutes when that time comes up. So next, item number 5, Resolution R1926, approval and adaptation of the 2026 Comprehensive Housing Survey and Action Plan for the City of Fitchburg. So Lorraine, your ball?
All right. Good morning, everyone. We are here with Redevelopment Resources again. We're at the final stages of the housing plan. So it has gone through Housing Advisory for recommendation to this committee. In that meeting, it was I guess there were some updates that needed to be made, and so Redevelopment Resources did make those updates. And as you know, Redevelopment Resources has been working with the community, stakeholders, the steering committee, so there has been a lot of feedback from both the community and from staff. And so today, this item is, again, has been reviewed by Housing Committee, the Housing Advisory Committee, and is recommended for approval for today. So this version that you'll have does include those updates and revisions that were requested by the committee. So again, the purpose of today's discussion is to kind of recap some of the plan, highlight some of those updates that were made, and allow for any remaining questions for the plan. And with that said, I'll hand it to Redevelopment Resources.
And then we'll have Kristen, they're going to go through a few slides, and then maybe we could have Nora come up after that just to offer her comments and perspective, and then we'll open it up to the committee.
All right. And then we're going to vote on it at the end.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
I don't know if I have the ability to share this, but if not, I can just talk through what I have on my screen.
Nick, are we good for Kristen to share her screen?
It doesn't appear to be.
We're not seeing it yet, Nick.
I'm plugged into the HDMI, but I'm not.
Bear with us 1 second for technical difficulties.
I'll just start talking. We started the housing study, and we did define the area as the city limits, the corporate limits, the jurisdictional boundaries of the city. And the purpose was to better aid decision makers in the needs of the community within their control. And we also did some comparison to the city with other first-tier suburbs.
Is that yours, Kristen?
Yes.
Okay.
Now I have to figure out how to share.
Are you able to share on Zoom?
I wasn't logged into the Zoom.
Okay. The people on Zoom can't see it. We can show it a little bit.
I can try to.
Cut to it.
Is there a different setting I can use to share the screen? Okay.
We can show it occasionally, but we'll be switching between the cameras and stuff. It'll show.
I'll talk through it. It's there's nothing on the slides that's going to be new information. The things that we undertook during our study, though, included reviewing previous documents. We did, as Lorene mentioned, met with stakeholders through interviews, focus groups, a community survey, community events, and neighborhood meetings. And we really want to say that of all the studies we've done in the past, the response we got from the city of Fitchburg was just really impressive. We got a really good response from the community. We then analyzed demographic, geographic, and economic data. We looked at existing conditions, trends, and projections. We studied housing availability, affordability, and accessibility. We did market projections and a gap analysis. Then we developed recommendations that came through in the form of strategies, policies, and an implementation and evaluation plan. We created the draft document with graphic design and mapping, and then we had presented it to the HRA committee a few weeks ago, and here we are in front of you today. And along the way, you've seen each piece of the process. To summarize the outreach a little bit more, we talked to we conducted over 30 interviews with a variety of stakeholders. We created postcards in English and Spanish that were distributed to event attendees, businesses, and residential property managers. We sent postcards to the neighborhood associations and handed out at all events. We publicized on FACTv and the Fitchburg Star, conducted focus groups, and then attended a number of different events. As far as the community survey was concerned, survey questions were reviewed and revised by city staff and the mayor. We achieved a statistically significant non-randomized population sample with a total of 675 total responses. The goals of this that we created through this study, we came up with 4 main goals, under which all of our recommendations land. The first goal is to ensure safe, quality, and affordable housing for all residents. The second goal is to expand the housing supply to meet future demand and affordability needs. The third goal is to promote equitable access and neighborhood stability. And the fourth goal is to strengthen collaboration and capacity to deliver housing solutions. So we targeted from a variety of options of angles, including specific projects, but also policy and programming recommendations. When the city has identified the tax increment dollars that it has to spend, we worked closely with Lorene and the other staff members to see how we would distribute those funds among the different buckets of funding and the programs that we identified. And so within the study is a breakdown of that. And I do have one slide. I'll go real quickly through that. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different programs that have been identified with different amounts of dollars that we recommend spending or investing in these programs, including a rental rehab and efficiency navigator program for $1.5 million, homeowner rehab program, which would be a revolving loan fund. We identified that for $2 million. Workforce housing initiatives with LIHTC projects, low-income housing tax credit projects. These would be incentives to developers building affordable housing at $1.5 million. Resources for land banking and acquisition, approximately $2 million was earmarked for that. Down payment assistance, approximately $2.5 million. And emergency housing or a stability fund for senior homeowners of $500,000. That is how the $10 million could be spent based on recommendations in this study. And the $10 million is comprised of tax increment dollars that the city has identified. That's it. That was my last slide.
Oh my gosh. I thought this was your presentation, and then I realized it wasn't switching when you were talking about things.
Oh, there we go. Maybe? Nope.
Okay.
That's a building in Iowa.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
I could tell you that story, but it's a long story. And that's just what we wanted to summarize today. We went through a lot of research, and all of the research that we conducted led us to the goals, recommendations, and strategies in the study, as well as the allocations of the dollars.
Anything else you wish to add?
We did get a lot of feedback after the draft was completed, and we did create a very complex matrix of every comment, and we checked each one of those off and incorporated answers or responses, if not in the document, back to staff. So we hope we've answered everyone's questions.
Okay. Nora, you're up. We have 3 minutes.
Can I speak from here?
You can come to the mic.
Well, come up here so that we can hear you on the TV, please.
Turn the mic on to
Yeah.
Lorraine.
Lorene, is the mic on?
No, just push the button. There you go.
Thank you. Floor is yours.
My name is Nora Saeed. I support the goals of the 2026 housing plan. However, as drafted, the plan exposes a misalignment between high-density goals and whether the housing units are actually attainable, livable, and economically integrated. I shared some preliminary concerns with the authority last night, and now just want to highlight 4 gaps and potential guardrails for consideration. First, the plan calls for housing at a range of income levels, but current market and qualification structures undermine this goal. My husband, a licensed practical nurse, and I, an academic staff at UW-Madison, could not qualify for an apartment without a cosigner because of the 3 times rent income threshold. This is a clear gap between income targeting assumptions and the actual economic realities of the population it aims to serve. Also, short-term incentives, some bordering on predatory, such as introductory rates followed by significant rent increases to keep up with the market, weaken long-term attainability. I propose the city leverage TIF and other developmental incentives to secure voluntary multi-year affordability commitments so that attainability extends beyond a one-year marketing tactic. Many new construction meet density objectives, but at the expense of spatial logic and usability. I've toured several new developments in Fitchburg, and I've seen door swing conflicts that obstruct kitchen access and appliance clearances that are so tight that doors cannot fully open. And in our work from home economy, the lack of dedicated workspaces further limits a unit's utility. This highlights a second gap in current developmental standards where quantitative production is prioritized over qualitative livability. I humbly propose a plan to incorporate functional livability standards to ensure interior utility because the market is failing to provide logical designs that are genuinely usable. Mixed-use developments are intended to cultivate walkable, economically diverse neighborhoods, yet many ground floor spaces remain vacant for years because rent is too high for local small businesses and startups. Ocala Springs, for example, has had empty commercial space since it was built in 2023, a clear misalignment between planning assumptions and economic viability. I propose a commercial incubator zoning strategy with tiered rent structures designed to lower barriers for early stage businesses, supporting their growth into long-term tenants and ensuring that mixed-use spaces contribute meaningfully to the local economy. Lastly, advertised rent often does not reflect the true cost of housing. There is a normalization of nickel and diming residents through mandatory non-negotiable fees such as parking, internet, and utilities, adding hundreds of dollars above the advertised rate. I propose a total cost of housing transparency requirement, ensuring that all fees are disclosed upfront. This is a straightforward consumer protection measure to improve transparency. In conclusion, I support the goals of this plan and urge the authority to address these gaps so that housing outcomes match the city's stated objectives of attainability, livability, and economic integration.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, Mike, I'm going to look at you here. Do we go over these, or do we wait for a motion, or?
I would see if Kristen and Dana have any observations, I guess, based on the questions and information that Nora provided.
Sure. We did include a demand chart that indicates the demand for affordable housing, and in the incentive buckets, we did earmark $1.5 million towards low-income tax credit housing development. So the city is encouraged to build affordable housing and encouraged to incentivize it. So that would address the first point, I believe. The second point is, I think, more of a code issue. As far as how kitchens are constructed and things like that really isn't, I don't know that we didn't address code in our housing study. As far as mixed use developments are concerned, I don't know that we advocated for a bunch of mixed use, and I agree there are challenges with the commercial space pricing on the main floor of mixed use developments. I think where you have a neighborhood that is, or a multifamily building that's in a commercial district, I would definitely encourage mixed use to not only provide services and goods to residents in the area, but just to keep that commercial area viable. So an incubator, I don't disagree with that space, or that idea, but, and then as far as advertised rent, that wasn't part of the study either, but.
Yeah. I would just add a couple of things. One other program that we have is we just piloted with a new building that's under construction in Uptown Fitchburg, and it's called our Workforce Units Within Market Rate. And it's where we're working with the private sector to incorporate 10% of the units at 60% for people that are at 60% of Dane County median income. And it's a proportion of units across the unit types within the building. So the Lido is our first building that we're piloting, but we've got interest from 3 other developers that are looking at that program as an option for us. So that's in addition to the WIDA LIHTC, program. So we're trying to add more supply in the affordability, kind of sector there, but also kind of disperse the reach geographically, throughout the city, for it. So that's something new that we just launched with our TID for Housing dollars, and we'll also be using if we've got current open TIDs. To your question on the commercial space, another track or plan that's happening simultaneously to this one is our Forward Fitchburg City in Motion Economic Development Strategic Plan. And that very topic about how do we work to have attainable commercial space for more local mom and pop businesses is going to be a discussion point of that plan. In fact, we're going to be having a developer roundtable where we're bringing together all of our private sector partners. And part of that session is going to be some breakouts to discuss that very topic. And one thing we may look at is kind of a commercial condominium model that maybe helps to make it more attainable for not the national franchises, but those local mom and pops. Great. And one last good thing on Ocala Springs, they, I think, have leased the remaining space up there to a veterinarian that's going to be going in there with the doggy
Art Pub.
Yeah, Art Pub up there, yeah. And then there is a new commercial building coming on the former Bowman Plaza that will have 12 to 15,000 square feet of commercial space. So we're hoping to bring some new commercial businesses to the Fish Hatchery Road corridor as well. So stay tuned on that, and we'd encourage you to participate in the Forward Fitchburg process as that plan comes forward as well.
I just want to say thank you so much.
Yeah.
That was clearly very thoughtful, and you articulated your points carefully and very thoughtfully. You clearly have notes. Is that something that you'd be willing to share your write-up with us so that we can kind of digest? It was a lot and very well done in 3 minutes. But I think that it's important that we hear you and take it to thought. So please share if you can. I don't know who wants to receive those notes.
Get them to Lorraine, right behind you.
Yeah. Nora sent it last night.
Oh, perfect.
If there's any additional information or details, feel free to share that with us.
I sure will. And I know that the zoning rewrite is coming up this summer as well, so I hope to stay involved and hear more and learn about those efforts as well.
I think the other thing with this, it's a plan's a working document and getting feedback from our citizens. And I think these folks did a very nice job getting the input throughout the city, but we can continue to use this, as Jenny said, to make tweaks to the plan and try and get to address some of these issues you've talked about. I mean, the one that was new to me was the code issues and hearing you can't open doors in places. So again, you're enlightening us as we go through the process too. And I appreciate that. So thank you. And as Mike said, stay tuned. Any other questions or feedback about the document we're getting ready to entertain a motion on?
Yep, and then we can ask committee members if they've got any input.
Okay, we will entertain, thank you. We will entertain a motion on the plan. I'll make the motion that we accept the plan.
Approve the plan.
I'll second, Andy.
And Andy seconded it. Is there further discussion among the group?
I just have one question.
Is that Andy or Mario? Oh, Jake.
No,
Go ahead.
Jake.
Sorry, Jake. Go ahead.
I saw that one of the supply side policies says that the specifics are still to be determined. Is that something that's going to come back to CETA and the council once those are determined, or to finalize those, or what is the plan there?
Was that for one of the, either the homeowner rehab or the down payment assistance program?
It was, let me pull up my notes here. That was for the missing middle incentives.
Jake, can you reference the page you're on?
Missing middle incentive.
Yep, I'm on page, it's page 53.
Okay.
Or I guess, it's page 44, it's page 45 of the plan, but 48 of the packet.
Okay. So 45. So I would encourage members to go, if you have your plan in front of you, go to find it, page 44 you said, or 45?
Oh, I think that would be related to the zoning code.
Okay.
So if there are changes to the zoning code to facilitate missing middle housing, it would be to encourage smaller lot sizes, shorter setbacks, that kind of thing. And those details would need to be fleshed out through the zoning code process. And we encourage you to have a robust discussion during your zoning code rewrite. In one community recently, they added a specific code for a zoning classification for cottage court or pocket neighborhoods. So that's what we meant by those program details to be determined.
And just a point of information, our planning colleagues received 7 proposals for the major comp plan update and zoning code rewrite. And there's going to be interviews with a couple of the firms that submitted, and that process will launch later this spring for both of those.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Any further questions?
Yeah, I have a question. In order to implement all the recommendations that you have contained in this 91-page report, how much money is it going to cost?
There's going to be a lot of staff time. And then we did include the distribution of the $10 million or allocation of the $10 million of the affordable housing funds from TIF. There will be partnerships, the revolving loan funds will revolve. So hopefully that money won't be spent per se, but it will be invested and returned to the community. So it's hard to answer that question with a short answer.
Well, $10 million is a drop in the bucket.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about, I think in here, homeowners, first-time homeowner assistance of $25,000. Well, if you're buying a $400,000 house and you've got to have 20% down to avoid the mortgage insurance, that's $80,000. So you're $65,000 short.
And the city shouldn't bear the burden for their whole down payment, but there are other programs that they could piggyback with and double up on for that homeowner.
So that's why I wanted to know if you're going to implement all the recommendations that you've made here, how much money would that take? Obviously, 10 million isn't even going to come close.
Right.
100 million?
I'm not sure. I think there's solving the housing situation is a problem that every community is grappling with, and to make a dent, to make a measurable dent, this is where we suggest you start. And the city wouldn't be able to do it alone.
And Dan, to your question, one thing that we as staff have been looking at, even with the limited 10 million that we have, is how do we leverage those dollars? Just as Kristen said, with the down payment assistance, as we've been talking to partners, there's other programs, Federal Home Loan Bank, WIDA, Dane County housing fund and everything. So we've been talking to partners about how do we leverage our dollars and kind of maximize the impact, even from a land banking standpoint. We've got the land bank and acquisition. We've got $2 million in there. We're trying to figure out what is our leverage of those dollars, working with partners like Habitat for Humanity or the Community Land Trust. What is that proportion of our dollars as far as matching their dollars? Because some of those organizations have gotten earmarks from Dane County. The other tool available to us is if it's a project in a current tax increment finance district, we might be able to leverage new money through existing TIDs. And then I don't know if you've been following, but there's a new potential TID for residential that was passed by the Assembly and just a week or two ago by the Senate, and going to Governor U-verse now. And that will allow us to create straight up residential TIDs, which has not been something that's been in our toolkit. That would be for home ownership, and it's structured as a pay-as-you-go developer bond model. So I know that Mayor Julia, in fact, Lorene has drafted a letter on behalf of the mayor that she's going to be sending in support of that program, because that's something that would really be helpful to have in our toolkit, specifically for home ownership and trying to address that gap and affordability and attainability out there. So we're not going to solve everything, and that's where we as staff even have been trying to manage expectations, even with our council members and with the public, as far as what's achievable by us and how we can impact our local housing market, because it's a bigger problem than Fitchburg here. And as I've always told people, we don't have a checkbook big enough to solve all the issues, nor do we control a lot of the variables as far as construction costs, labor costs, interest rates, and even land availability, which is a challenge for us right now, trying to get some new subdivisions open up.
Well, I think it's also important that we understand that this plan was not about how do we spend the $10 million. This was a bigger, broader scope, and that it's going to be something that takes years and years.
Right? And as the market evolves, so will what you do with the study. The study will last 5 to 8 years. Your market will change a lot during that time.
My issue is that we're trying to build a house with a jeweler's hammer. It does not work. The impetus has to come from a much larger body. I mean, as you said, we don't have the resources to do it all ourselves. We've got to rely on all these other people and programs. And if that's the case, there's got to be, in my mind, some coordinated effort from above that says this is how we're going to solve the problem. Because our $10 million isn't going to do diddly squat in the long run. I mean, and it's fine that we're talking about this, but as we heard from the speaker, you have buildings that are designed that don't reflect the usages that people are going to demand now. Our smart code isn't working according to this study report. I mean, this is the tip. We need a broader approach, in my judgment, if we're going to have any impact on the housing shortage, and it's got to come from the state, not Fitchburg.
And I know there are a lot of discussions going on between the Realtors Association, the Builders Association, to try and impact as far as increasing the supply and the type of housing, including that missing middle category. But you're exactly right. That's what we've been saying as staff here too. We'll try and move the needle and impact where we can, but there's so much outside of our control. And as I've said repeatedly, the best thing we can do is inventory across all types of housing product, rental and ownership, because until the market gets back into some kind of level of equilibrium, again, none of us have a checkbook big enough to underwrite the affordability and attainability levels. there. So I wholeheartedly agree with you, and I would encourage you to help us manage those expectations, because I think staff has been a little anxious about that ourselves as far as, you know, what the expectations are for us to deliver, you know, as we go forward and everything here. And we will not have a larger tax increment district ready for closure, you know, to help replenish and recapitalize our TID for Housing Fund for, you know, probably a good 10 years, you know, here. So there's not an immediate replenishment of that fund through the TID for Housing, you know, legislation that's available to us. That's why that residential TID is nice to be able to add to our toolkit, you know. Hopefully the governor signs that. One thing I will say is we've been approached by a local developer, and they've been doing their due diligence, Gorman and Company, about a single family proposal where he's proposed to us that we would help to underwrite the infrastructure cost and the fees associated with the city approvals, and he would forego his developer fee. And with that proposal and partnership, he's indicating he could bring us some new single family product between $300,000 and $350,000 there. So that's something that we're still exploring and having conversations about. And as they continue their due diligence, they'll probably be coming back to the council to continue that conversation with the council and kind of take a temperature check from them in late spring or early summer is what we're kind of thinking. So stay tuned for that one. But there's an example of kind of a public-private partnership approach from a local developer that, again, could be a creative and unique partnership to bring some new single-family home ownership supply.
I guess just to add on to that, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but you know, some of our nonprofit organizations like Habitat for Humanity and MACLT have money that it's earmarked to support housing like this. So working with partners like that also can leverage funds as well.
So everybody's comment, I think, is relevant to where this thing, we're trying to take this thing. It's a starting point. It is not going to solve everything. Yeah. I've been to several meetings with our colleagues from Dane County Housing, and they're kind of saying the same thing. And we need to work together to improve the gaps that you've identified, to give a plan that's going to make some improvements, but yet not solve all the problems, know where we are. And I think incremental improvement is how we get there and how we keep this at our forefront, because it certainly is a huge issue for our city. So other comments or feedback? Thank you, Dan. Okay, then we...
Anything from anybody on the screen?
All I see is that, I think that's a prison, Kristen. What was it?
It was an elementary school in Iowa, and...
I said either a prison or a school.
With any luck...
It's still up there.
With any luck, it will become 17 multifamily units in the next couple of years.
I've seen them do that in Sarasota. They took a high school and about that size and did it. So at any rate, are there any further discussion on the motion on the floor? We have people on that we are trying to get on the screen. I know Andy and Mario is there and Jake. Do you folks have any comments? We can't see you, but... Okay.
No one is.
Okay.
I'm good here. Thank you for checking.
Okay. Any comments?
I'm good also.
I don't have anything to add.
Okay. Jake, I'm going to call on you too. I've got the other two. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm good as well. Thank you.
Okay. So we will move to approve the resolution, which is approving and adopting the 2026 Comprehensive Housing Study and Action Plan for the city of Fitchburg, with this great discussion we had around it. So all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Okay, hearing none, the resolution has passed. Let's move, and thank you for your feedback, everybody. And you folks did a very nice job in this project. I want to thank you. You were a pleasure to work with. So, on behalf of the committee, it was a good project. So, thank you.
I would echo that. It was a great collaboration and partnership and a well-done study. And also kudos to Lorene for her coordination through the process and everything here. So it was a real team effort. Appreciate it.
Thank you, folks. And thank you to the people who served as their advisory committee, too. So, okay, Mike, we are moving down to the hotel room tax report, and you handed out a document.
Yeah, and I'm going to also show my screen here for the folks that are remote. Here, let's get to that one. So we have the fourth quarter room tax report and submittals in. And so for the fourth quarter, we came in at $119,003. It was down about 5.28% compared to the previous year. That's kind of the trend that's been in the region here. Overall, it's been flat. So we came in at $543,895. Which is our projected budget was $545. So we're kind of like right on budget. And I know sometimes people will give me a hard time that I'm a little too cautious and conservative with my estimates. But this is one of the reasons why it's helpful to be conservative. To me, if the numbers come in better, great for all of us. But at least then we're not overcommitted with dollars that we were expecting, because who could have projected we would have had a pandemic where the room tax fell off the cliff? And even with our Spring Hill Suites, the new hotel, they were expected to be open at the beginning of the year, and they still are waiting to get the final inspection by Marriott because they had an elevator delay. So they should be opening any day now, but they've kind of missed the first quarter, of the room tax dollars here. But still a good amount of dollars and resources for us. The other thing I will mention here is one of the projects that I'll probably be coming to CETA for later for a kind of a budget amendment for our 2026 budget. And you can see kind of our fund here that we've got for CETA dollars, which again are hotel room tax dollars that are for tourism, marketing, and promotion related purposes. So these are not general levy dollars. As we wind through the Forward Fitchburg Economic Development Strategic Plan, one of the projects involved with that is going to be kind of a 4-page glossy marketing piece. We wanted to do this the last time we updated City in Motion, but then COVID happened. And like I said, the room tax tanked at that time, so we didn't have the resources to do it. But we want to work with In Business Magazine to do an insert in the magazine, but then also to do kind of a multi-pronged marketing with some direct email campaigns as well as online campaigns. So they're putting together a package for us. So I'll probably be coming to you sometime later this year in the summer to look for probably around $25,000 to be able to do that. We haven't done that for a while. Dan may remember we did 3 previous inserts historically that were kind of our really nice glossy marketing piece, but we haven't done that for a significant amount of time. So once we finish Forward Fitchburg, this is our opportunity to kind of tell the Fitchburg story and get in front of decision makers, and it goes out to kind of a 6 to 8 county-wide area here. So I'll keep you posted as we get information on that, but just wanted to give you a heads up that may be coming.
Mike, can I ask the question of the report?
Mm-hmm.
What is on the second page, the financial statements for the Sports Commission? What is the approved but not yet paid Nine Springs Neighborhood Hub, which is now Nine Springs Hosty-Hochi, I'm assuming? What was approved up there and not yet paid? See the second, right down here at the bottom? Right down here.
Okay.
Right there.
Yeah. Yeah, that we authorized some dollars, I think, to help with the bike pump track there. So I'll have to check on that for you.
I just wondered.
And just see the status of that one. Yeah. For him. I'll check on that and we'll give you a response at the next meeting.
Thank you. I just want to know.
Send an email out to you.
That's fine.
Yep.
That's fine.
Yep. Good question.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any other questions of Mike?
The hotel.
Either the people on Zoom or the people in the room. Okay, it was just a report, Mike, so go ahead, keep going. You're next on the agenda.
Okay. We're working on multiple tax increment districts and projects. So on North Fish Hatchery Road, we've been working with our friends at the UPS store. They've purchased the property at the corner of Oshala and Fish Hatchery Road to look to construct hopefully a new commercial building up there right at that intersection. And that would be a new home for the UPS store for Melissa and Sam up there. So we're working with them on that one. TID number 11, which is the one on the Cleanfill site, the Fawside property between Highway 14 and MM. That's the one that the local developer, Mark Fairchild, who used to serve on CETA, is coming forward with 2 multifamily buildings. Trilogy Health Services will have a continuum of living and care facility. There will be about 40 single-family home lots, and then I think we're up to about 40 to 50 townhome ownership product as well. So they have a TIF request in right now that Ellers is going through the but-for and pro forma analysis on that one. And then TID number 17, which is over there on the east and the west sides of Verona Road. We are looking to probably amend that TID district for the Jamestown Quarry Retail Center that would go across from Super Target there. There's some extraordinary costs related to undergrounding stormwater, a huge retaining wall that's needed, as well as a significant amount of excess soil that needs to be kind of trucked off the site. Just included in the project costs there. Yeah. No, yeah. It's kind of the reclamation of that area. Yeah. So we're looking to move forward probably with a TID amendment there. He's got his request into Ellers, and they're doing the analysis. And then we are working with Ellers to start that process because we would need to amend the boundaries as well as the project plan for that. But it's a project we want to see happen, and it's not going to happen without us underwriting some of those extraordinary costs over there. So stay tuned on that one. And then TID number 18, that's the one that we created about 2 years ago for the quarries on the east side of Verona Road, the Payne and Dolan, and north of Lacey and Commerce Park over there. We were looking to amend that one to use Verona Road as the connector to get to the lot north of Gymfinity Gymnastics on Nesbitt Road for the Oak Ridge development proposed by J.T. Klein. And they were proposing 80 units of affordable light-tech senior housing and then 100 market rate units. They've decided at this point in time to proceed with the affordable senior, but the market rate is going to be on hold at this point in time and will be a future phase of that project. They had sufficient tax credits and resources from Dane County that the affordable senior building didn't need additional TID support, but they were looking to some extraordinary costs again, because that's part of some former quarry activity over there for the market rate building. And then they were looking to incorporate our workforce at 60% within it. But the numbers just aren't working for them with the current kind of construction cost, interest rate environment. So they're going to break that one up into 2. So having said that, we don't need to amend TID number 18 at this point in time. We may in the future on that one. So those are the TID reports. Then on Forward Fitchburg, we're continuing to work with Vandewall, with Sonia and Rob at Vandewall. I know a lot of you participated in the early kickoff session and some of the questions that were posed in the survey work there. So the next steps in that process is we're going to be coordinating 4 roundtable topics working with Vandewall, and they're going to focus on some of the things that we heard through that kickoff session. One is going to be centers and identity, and that gets to that question and topic that keeps coming up is Fitchburg doesn't have a traditional downtown. We have commercial centers throughout the city, and so where we're kind of focusing on this one is how do we create those thriving mixed-use commercial centers with less of a focus on designated one specifically as quote unquote a downtown. So we're going to be bringing together a whole bunch of stakeholders, some of our local businesses, local developers, real estate people, to have that conversation to see what are some of the strategies that we should be looking at. The other one is focusing on the innovation economy and how do we position Fitchburg for some of those industry clusters. So fusion as one example. There we've already got Phoenix Shine here. That's an industry cluster that the state of Wisconsin and the University of Wisconsin-Madison in particular have a significant intellectual expertise in and is an emerging industry. We're also looking at is there the possibility for another data center to locate here in Fitchburg? Not a mega project. It would be on a size and scale that would be that would work and be a fit for Fitchburg in the community here. So those conversations continue. So we'll be bringing together some, again, industry experts. The USONA Institute is another one that we would look to kind of leverage and capitalize on their expertise. And then through this discussion with Vanderwall, Steve Leverance from Fitchburg Center Pro Mega brought up the question of, what's the discussion about how AI, artificial intelligence, how do we embrace and engage with that as a community, as a city? How is the private sector utilizing and leveraging that? So we're going to bring together some experts to have that conversation, to think about, are there some strategies and recommendations that we should be including in this Forward Fitchburg update related to that? So we're coming up with some really good potential prospects to be part of that discussion. And then lastly, and the one that I know the mayor has been asking about in particular, is to bring together a developer roundtable. And that's to bring together developers, real estate people, their engineers, their architects, bankers, and things like that. First off, to have kind of a pulse check on how is the process working here in Fitchburg, and give feedback and input. We've made a lot of systems and processes improvements over the last 4 years. We've got the weekly developer team meeting. We've got ePlan, which is a 15-day turnaround for building permit applications. We've got OpenGov now, so people they don't have to come into City Hall to submit applications. That's available to them 24/7. We've done some tweaks to the zoning code even before the full zoning code rewrite. So we want to kind of preface it to highlight those, but then ask the development community, are there still some pinch points or areas where we can make some further efficiencies and enhancements as far as our processes and things like that. But then the second half of that, and it kind of goes to Nura's question there, is how do we work with our private sector partners to position Fitchburg for successful kind of mixed use and commercial type projects and everything. Because one of the situations we faced is, and it's reflective of that, we didn't have that older commercial stock from a downtown. So I know in the last couple of years, we have lost 2 businesses that were local owned businesses that wanted to own their space. They were currently leasing space, and they couldn't find that space here in Fitchburg. And so we lost them to other communities, and that was like a gut punch to us. And that's why I started asking the question of what is a business model that we can come up with to create kind of commercial areas that are viable and, again, attainable for some of those local mom and pop entrepreneurs and businesses. So the second half of that session with the developers is going to be to explore those ideas and strategies, and we want to have probably a panel discussion with a banker up there, with a contractor, with a real estate broker, and everything, and see what ideas they offer for us to kind of consider through Forward Fitchburg, and then ideas for implementation going forward.
So, question about that. So, the housing plan, I mean, they spend a lot of time talking to developers and getting feedback and stuff. So, yep. Do you see this as an opportunity to expand on everything that they had to say and their feedback into that plan? So now we get to actually roll up our sleeves and start talking about potential solutions, or is that
Ideas.
kind of the goal? Ideas?
Yeah. But a lot of those same folks, they're probably on our invite list.
Yeah.
Joyce Lorena and I are already putting together a list of who would be invited for that session, and it's a pretty large list already.
Yeah.
You know, but the other thing is we view it as a marketing opportunity for us because we've got great development partners that we're working with, but they're kind of at their capacity. You know, they can, let's say, do their one project a year and everything, but we've got more land and sites available than we have developers. So we want to try and encourage more people to take a look at Fitchburg from a development opportunity and to explore some of those other sites that we have available that we'd love to match up a developer with, working with the private sector and the landowners, you know, there.
Additionally, we had some feedback from the community regarding housing, significant feedback. And so what we did is had redevelopment resources to connect with the consultant to kind of add that into the plan as well. So that's a segment.
Mm-hmm. Mike, can I pull you back to something earlier you said? You said we lost 2 businesses. Can you share who those, just for the committee's information, were economic development? What 2 businesses did
one was Cosa Boutique, the really nice women's boutique that was located on Nesbitt Road in the same building where Yahara Bay. You know, and that's exactly the type of business we'd love to have in our community, that smaller, you know, retail and everything. And Amanda, she was able to buy a building in Verona and relocate the business there. The other one was Dave's Guitar Shop. That was at Hatchery Hill on the end cap there by the Great Dane. And that drew lots of people. You know, people came regionally because their other location is in La Crosse, and they ended up moving to Sun Prairie again because they could buy kind of that older commercial building in downtown Sun Prairie. So it's a unique challenge, you know, for us, and that's why I really want to have that discussion and really engage with our private sector partners on how do we come up with some strategies for something that can work for us.
I want to put a pitch in here. We also lost Wheel and Sprocket.
Yeah.
Now, they left for different reasons.
Yeah.
I know that. However, as we look at livability in our city and affordability and all this rolling together, we don't have a bike shop out here.
Yep.
And I think that's one of those things that as you guys get into this plan, that you need to identify what are the pieces that are going to make this truly more livable in addition to being affordable.
Yeah. Yeah. On that one, you know, we worked so many years with Edwin, you know, to open up Fitchburg Cycles. And then that one was the situation where, unfortunately, we had an ownership group that acquired Hatchery Hill, which dramatically changed the economics of the lease space there. And then, of course, with what happened with COVID in the bike industry, where, you know, there was the ramp up of everything, and then that industry's been kind of in a recession post-COVID, you know, there. So there were multiple factors and dynamics on that one.
I just wanted to, I didn't know if you're counting something like that as part of the city. So, okay, thank you.
Yeah. And then just like I said, Spring Hill Suites hopefully should be opening any day now. And then we'd like to coordinate with them a ribbon cutting to check out the new 100-room Spring Hill Suites on Nesbitt Road. And then the Class A office building at Verona Road and McKee Road on the first floor, wealth distribution strategies moved into that space, financial planning and tax firm. So we're looking to, we'll be partnering with our Fitchburg Chamber to do a ribbon cutting and a grand opening, but that kind of finishes out the leasing of that space. I know on the second and third floor, KL Engineering and Powerline Systems, there's a little bit of space remaining, but both of them kind of have options to take that space. So that was, again, a strategy by this group and utilizing a TID to drive a multi-story Class A office building there on, as you may remember, was a one-story kind of metal building previously. So it turned out well in the end, and something that was important for us to do. And then I've already updated you on the comp plan and the zoning code rewrite. There'll be some interviews coming up in the next couple of weeks, and then our planning colleagues will be launching that process as well. Much needed, and that'll also include a sign code update as well, which is also needed for us. Lorene, did you have anything to other updates?
Sure. I have some housing updates. One being the Efficiency Navigator program. So each of you should have received the email regarding the press release event that's on March 31st at 10 a.m. at 1134 Petra Place. This is with the City of Madison. They're also launching their program, so we did a joint effort for that. So that'll be about an hour long, and it'll be an outdoor event. So. In addition to that, Efficiency Navigator has launched their program, so the letters have gone out actually as of yesterday. So we sent out 80 letters to property owners. 110 properties is what we're focusing on, so it's double what we sent last year, so we're expecting great feedback. We also did kind of a kickoff with FACTv, so we did a video, so I encourage you to check out that video from Efficiency Navigator and Sustain Dane, and then I'm also part of that interview where we just talk about the program that we've done in the past and what we're hoping to see in the future. The kind of the focus for this time around, first rounds, we're looking to do windows because that's a significant need that we saw last time around. Also, it's kind of easier for contractors to work during the warmer months on windows and then the other projects in the winter months. So we'll keep you updated and posted on that. So again, those letters went out. We'll kind of wait about a week or so, then send out an email and then phone calls to kind of contact people that haven't responded. And it's kind of a first serve, first come basis. So we're hoping to get a lot of traction for this. So we're excited for this.
Thank you. A lot of good work being done. I know a lot of groundwork is being done as you move forward. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Can I mention
keep going?
Just two other things. One is I'd be remiss not to mention that the Fairway Lounge, the former Benvenuto's, has opened as a golf simulator kind of business there, and they serve the Salvatore pizza pies there as well. So the lounge and pizza pies and golf simulators and everything. So please patronize that locally owned business. And then coming up on April 16th is a ribbon cutting at Hatchery Hill. We have a hair place back there. As you might remember, years ago we had a Cost Cutters. Great Clips has taken that space. So there's a ribbon cutting, I think it's at noon on the 16th. So please join us for that. And then this evening, Lorene, the mayor, and I are going to the Madison Black Chamber Gala, our partners at the Madison Black Chamber. That's at Monona Terrace this evening.
I had some other programs that I wanted to finish. So the other program that I'm working on is with CDBG. So we, again, were awarded a grant last year for $600,000 for infrastructure. So then we're planning to leverage those funds. So we're kind of in the infancy stages. This project has to be done by mid-2030. So there's a lot of steps that need to be taking place, such as an RFP for developers that want to look out for land, and then also probably we'll seek out an RFP for a consultant to kind of do the compliance piece of it. So working on the timeline of that, and also kind of the process as well.
And Lorene, on that one, Dan, to your point earlier, as far as resources, that's another example of where we were able to qualify for grant dollars that will leverage our land bank dollars because it has to be used specifically for infrastructure. So once we work with some of our partners, then this is some money that can be used for infrastructure to help get a project in the ground.
Yes. So additionally, we're looking at land banking. So Sod Farm is one of the properties that we're looking at. So kind of in the infancy stages of kind of figuring out what to do with the land and how to best utilize that. Also down payment assistance. So kind of been communicating to different partners about a strong down payment assistance program, so we're still kind of vetting that, but we would like to draft an RFP in the near future. So I'm kind of bringing these things up because they'll be coming your way sometime in the near future. And again, that down payment assistance is really kind of to help that first-time homeowner. That was kind of outlined in those initiatives to help with that down PMI for insurance for the mortgage. And then lastly, the Housing Accelerator Program is something that we've applied for with the city. It's kind of a program to kind of give us some, I guess, support in some of the initiatives that we talked about, and also to support planning as well. So we applied and we've had some interviews, and then we'll hear back from them probably early summer to know that if we've been invited to the program. So I think that's about it for housing.
I think you're very busy, Lorraine. Thank you for being here and helping us move these things forward. Anything else? Okay. Mike, back to you.
I think that's all that I have. I just want to again say thanks to CETA, thanks to Lorene and Joyce, Kristen and Dana on helping to shepherd this housing plan, forward. The last one was approved in 2019, but so much has changed as far as the dynamics of the market. So it's really helpful to do an update, and again, we'll be impactful where we can. And I think we've got some good strategies to start to implement, there.
You've got a couple more items under your agenda there. You want to speak to them or anything new? Definitely Alliant Energy Center. I want to hear about that.
Yeah, and I wasn't able to go to that. I had a different conflict that night. So Joyce went to that, and she included a memo at the end of the presentation that just gave some highlights. So at our meeting next month, maybe she can share a little bit more insight. I know she talked to a lot of people when she went to that session. But it seems like there's what happens there will impact kind of Fitchburg, probably in more of that Highway 14, corridor, and kind of the Southdale Novation campus neighborhood. I think one of the questions on there, or one of the segments that they're looking at is, and it's a question yet of, will there be kind of a sports facility element or will there not? Because as you know, I've had some conversations with folks about, is there an opportunity for a sports facility here in Fitchburg somewhere? So we're kind of staying engaged with that and kind of following along to see if that ends up landing kind of in their plan, or if they kind of go in other directions.
Well, the other interesting thing along is that there's going to be a landfill component there, and I think it's going to sit on the north side. Okay. Which is, how that fits with all that, I'm not quite sure, but yeah, I know the one on the east side's full, so the landfill. But and then putting, Frank has stated 50 to 60 concerts in that building. Yeah, that's a lot of concerts, particularly given the stuff down by the university, the stuff that has sprung up over the years. So it's going to be very interesting. I think it will, as you said, it will impact Fitchburg in the long run. So.
Yeah. Anything that happens there will be a positive, as they start to utilize that. So I think it allows us to maybe explore some other things in the Southdale Novation campus and in that Highway 14, corridor as that emerges.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mike. Any other CETA subcommittee reports? Okay, I will move us to item number 8 on the agenda. Are there any announcements from the committee members?
Any questions from the guys online at all? Nope, doesn't look like it.
Okay, hearing none, then, sorry. Did I miss something?
I was just saying no.
Okay, all right. Okay. Then the last announcement, our next scheduled meeting will be Thursday, April 23rd, 2026, and I will entertain a motion for adjournment at this time.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Made by Jenny Sanders. Is there a second? Seconded by Dan Hardy.
I'll second.
Okay, seconded by Dan Hardy and Mario.
Mario, you're a little slow.
Yeah, hit that button sooner, Mario. Okay, thank you for coming today. Thank you for all these great reports. I think we're making good progress. We need to stay focused and our eye on the prize, particularly around our housing situation as we go forward. So Thank you very much. I will we will vote. All those in favor to adjourn signify by saying aye, please. Aye. Same sign.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you, folks. Thanks, Nick.